Everybody, I am so excited to see you all here today. Today we are going to be sewing the Ron. This is a super cute wallet. It's about 9 inches wide, about 4.5 inches tall, roughly about an inch wide. Inside there's about 12 card slots. There's a coin purse, a place to put your monies if you haven't spent it all on the fabric like I usually do. So that's going to have moths flying out like. Anywho's, we're going to attach a magnet and I'm ready to get started. Alright, general tools that I am going to be using include my awl, some double-sided tape. I've got multiple sizes here. I've got 1/8, 1/4, and 1/2 inch. I've got marking tools. I've got various ones. I've got a pair of snips. I've got an X-Acto knife, I've got a turning tool, got my lighter just in case, a ruler, this is from Mormino, got my rivet guide, got my hole punch, and I've got my clips just in case. I kind of was like, I'm missing something here. These are my general tools that I'll be using throughout my video. Pieces that are going to be include the outer panel and the main lining panel in waterproof canvas. I do have this interface with SF101, so set those here. We are also going to have 2 card slots. Those are going to be interfaced with SF101. I've got 2 card slot back and 4 pouch outer. There's going to be later labeled as 2 pouch outer and inners, 4 extensions, and then there's going to be 8 of these side funky shapes and 2 zipper tabs. You're going to need zipper tape, a zipper pull, and of course a magnet so that we can get started. The first thing we're going to work on is our card slots. So you need your card slots, a pen that's going to work like I don't have here, so I'm going to use silver, and definitely are going to need a ruler. What I'm going to do first is on both of these, I'm going to label top, and that's going to help me understand where I need to start on both sides. So the first measurement I am going to make is going to be 2.5 inches down. I'm sorry. Alright, so we're going to have our side pieces. What we're going to want to do here is be kind of mindful. There's a little bit of a straight edge on one side and a little bit of a curvy edge on the other. So we're going to line those up as best we can and kind of clip them together. As you can see, you're wanting the straight edge to be as close together. There you go. Oh, that one's just going to be funky. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to sew at 1/4 of an inch down 3 sides. We don't want to sew on the straight side. So let me use my pen here. We're going to start here, back stitching at the beginning and we are going to sew down the side, across the top, across the bottom, and down the side, leaving the straight side open. We don't want to sew that. So we're going to go ahead and get started doing that right now. After we get them all sewed up, what you're going to want to do is kind of trim down the sharp corners so they turn out really pretty. So, as you can see, I'm not cutting the thread, I'm just cutting down those corners. And then it'll make it easier and lay flatter when we're trying to turn this out. So I'm also going to pinker the curves and only the curves. It's up to you if you want to do that. I'm just doing it because I think it's going to lay down really nice. So I'm going to flip these out, I'm going to iron them, and then after we do all that, I'm going to attach it to my card panel. And where we're going to start this is they're going to lay at 1 inch from the top on both sides. So I'm going to readjust this camera and we're going to show you as best I can here. So we want to have them resting 1 inch from the top here. Alright, so we're going to get one. Now remember, we had this side left open. That's the side that's going to go across, or going to go against the raw edge of the card panel, where the small side and the large sides go toward the card slots. Now you want the curves to go toward the card slot because that's what's going to hold the coin pouch that we make later. And then we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side, measuring 1 inch down from the top. Then we're going to flip this over and do it again. After that, we're going to baste these down so that they don't go anywhere. Now, this is special, and I'm going to pause here. I measured 1 inch from the bottom, and then I folded the bottom to that line, and I ironed it really well. This is going to be toward the center seam of our wallet. So we wanted to make sure that was ironed down really well. Both of the card slot backs are going to have the exact same line. So 1 inch up, fold up to that line, iron really, really good. Now, we are going to take this, I'm just going to press this down a little bit more. I'm going to open up my card slots, and I'm going to take that raw edge, not the ironed edge, the raw edge. I'm going to line it up with that raw edge of the card slot. And I'm going to pin this in place. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side, matching the raw edge to the raw edge. So matching the raw edges, I'm going to clip this side as well. And then we are going to stitch these together at 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to go right down 1/4 of an inch. And then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Now we're going to flip this open. We're going to press this as best we can with those seams, and we are going to then flip the card slot backwards behind the card slots that we made, because what we're going to do is we are going to top stitch this so that it stays down. That's the idea. We want to press this down as best we can, get that seam down, and then we're going to be able to top stitch this. Now you're welcome to use some clips to try to hold that down, but that's the idea, is we want to be able to get this to lay down really pretty, and then we're going to top stitch, and we're going to do that on both sides. All right, so this is looking really good. We've got this going. We've got our 12 card slots, and that's going to be set to the side. The next thing we're going to work on is our coin pouch. So we need to get our outers, our inners, and our zipper tape and our zip tab. So the first thing we're going to want to do is make sure our ends are singed, our zipper tabs are ready to go. And we're going to have our pouch linings and our pouch outers. These are all, the pouch linings and the pouch outers are the same size. So go ahead now and find your centers on all 4 of those rectangles. You're also going to want to make sure you've got your zipper and your zipper pull. Find your center on your zipper tape while you're at it. It'll make it a lot easier. I want to use a Sharpie here just so it stands out. I've also got my double-sided tape, which you know, in hindsight, I've probably put this on too early, but it is what it is. All right, go ahead and put this on the back as well. After we do this, we're going to want to go ahead and put our zipper pull on. I'm going to run right to the bottom on this zipper. This is, you have bobbin chicken, I've got DST chicken. So here's my zipper pull. I'm going to go ahead and stick it on. All right, so now I've got my zipper tab. I'm going to fold it in half, just like this. I'm going to press really good, just a finger press. Then I'm going to take those ends and I'm going to press them again toward that center line we just pressed. I'm going to use a clip here just to kind of hold it in place. Do the exact same thing on the other side, just finger pressing. And this is what's going to look like. Now I'm going to slide that right onto the end here. Whoops. And there we go. I'm going to slide this clip back on here. So that one's ready to go. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other zipper tab. Alright, so after we do that, we are going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch on both ends of the zipper so that we can secure the zipper tab. I'm also trimming down the ends so that it fits better on the zipper pouch. Alright, so now I'm going to put right side of the zipper facing the zipper teeth for the outer of the pocket. And I'm going to line that up against the zipper edge so that it's nice and even. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with the pouch lining on the inside where the right side's facing the inside of the teeth. Then I'm going to sew it 1/4 inch all the way across, back stitching at the beginning and the end. Afterwards, I'm going to flip these out and match up the outer and the lining really well so that we can do a top stitch. So I'm going to pinch this together and line up those corners really nicely, and I'm going to clip this in place. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. And then I'm just going to finger press so that this lays down nice and flat. And I'm just going to do a 1/8 inch top stitch all the way down. Alright, after that I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side with the outer pouch lining facing the teeth and then the inner lining facing the back of the teeth. And then I'm going to I'm going to sew this at 1/4 inch, back stitching at the beginning and the end. After I get this sewn together, we're going to do the exact same thing where we line up the lining matching the corners on both sides. Same exact thing, and then we're going to finger press this nice and flat and top stitch the top. Alright, afterwards we're going to open this up and then we are going to have the right sides touching the right sides, and we are going to clip that together just like this. Making sure we are lining up all the corners nice and neat, making it pretty. Alright, and then we're taking the inside and we're folding that down nice and flat. Same thing on the other side. Alright, so we're going to stitch this now closed. but we are going to leave a hole on the lining side, probably about 3 inches, 3.5 inches. We're going to backstitch at the really good at the beginning and the end, so that we have that turning hole, and we want to make sure we don't rip when we turn it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch this at 1/4 inch, backstitching really good. Alright, so now I'm going to trim these corners down so that the rectangle trims really nice. And I'm going to do that for all 4 of those rectangles. Make sure we don't cut the thread. We don't want to damage our pocket at all. And then I'm going to turn this out right through this hole. Make sure you're poking those holes out as best you can. Alright, so once we get this all lined out really nicely, we're going to poke this up so we're sticking the raw edges in so that we can close up our hole here. Going to line this up really nicely, stick this in. It should go in about 1/4 inch. You can use clips to hold this in place. And then we're going to sew it closed, backstitching really good at the beginning and the end. And then afterwards we need to iron this so that it's nice and flat, especially on those sides. Alright, so for interfacing, what I did was that I took my outer panel and I traced it onto what this is Profuse Stiff. And then I just I traced it onto the interfacing, sorry, and then I reduced it by 1/4 inch and cut that out. And then on the stiff one-sided fusible, I did the exact same thing, but I reduced it by 1/2 inch and then cut it out. So that's how I've got these done. So same thing, traced it out, reduced it by 1/2 inch for the one-sided stiff, and that's going to go on the main lining. So I'm gonna put the Profuse Stiff on the external, and I'm gonna put this is actually Peltic 71. I'm gonna put that on the lining, which is gonna be important later when we have to cut a hole in our lining. It's gonna go across right here. It's about 5 inches up, 6 inches across. So that's gonna be important because we're gonna turn our whole bag through that hole. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this all fused on, and we can come right back, okay? Okay, so now we're all fused on. I've got this is the Peltex. I've got it on nice and secure. It's on my SF101. I'm going to measure 5 inches up, and it's going to be about 6 inches across the center that we want to make. So I'm going to get my marker, I'm going to get a rotary tool, and we're going to cut this out because this is where we are going to turn our bag out. I might use some snips to kind of take this the rest of the way. All right, so this is good. Now I'm going to lay our card that we just did. I'm going to lay our card slots on here, wanting to make sure that the backs lay nice and flat. And those are going to be about 3/4 inch from the bottom that you want to start laying that and clipping down in place. And we're going to baste that on nice and neat and pretty. Okay, so at this point we have our outer panel and we're going to put this right sides together, and we're going to clip this together. After we get it all clipped together, we are going to sew all the way around this at 1/4 inch, securing this. Yep, we're closing this all up because we're turning it through that hole. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take it straight to the machine so we can do this. At this point, we're going to pinker the top, and then I'm going to cut the corners using these scissors. I'm just going to cut the corners first, making sure not to cut the threads. And then I'm going to pinker the top. Alright, at this point we are now going to flip the wallet out. So I'm going to go ahead and get this going. It may help to warm it up a little bit, it may not. So I'm just going to grab these corners and I'm going to push it through and just work it my way through very carefully, trying to force it through this hole. Just take your time. You don't want to rip that hole any more than you have to. Alright, after we get it all out, we are going to top stitch this down. We got to make sure we keep it nice and flat, but when we top stitch, we want to keep these sides out away from it so it doesn't get top stitched toward the card slot. So we want to make sure when we top stitch it, we have the card slots facing down and the sides out. Afterwards, we're going to attach the magnet. So when you get a K&A magnet, you're going to have this really cute magnet, and then you're going to have both the male and the female pieces together. They usually come separate like this. And then you also have these plates. The magnet comes with screws. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4. This one is a 4-piecer. So you're going to need to go ahead and take that apart. So this has 4 holes on it, and we are going to need to have our hole punch handy. And what else do we need? I need a marking pen. And so this is what we're going to need to go ahead and do this. I'm going to set this over here. Okay. So I've got my magnets, and we're going to go ahead and flip this started. I almost forgot that I also need E6000 glue. This is really good, especially if you're working in an open room. So flip it to where the curve is facing you, and you're going to try to find the center. I like to line it up with the lines. Being that this is about 9 inches wide, I'm going to go ahead and try to find the center. It's about 4.5 inches, just so you know. And then you take this and you can press really hard, and it should make some kind of indentation for you. And that's why the marking pen is really important, so you can go in and mark right away where those divots are, and you can see them a little bit. Oh, all right. Now I'm going to go back in real quick, and I'm going to mark those because I'm going to turn around and I'm going to have to hole punch these out. I'm going to put this on a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to punch these out. All right, when we flip this over, this is why the holes were super important, because now we can line it up with the back. The back's got these slits in it. That's for the plate to help hold the magnet. So we wanted to make sure that we had the holes punched so we can line it up really nice and even. So that's what we're going to be doing here to do this. So I want to go ahead and stick this to where the holes all line up real nice and pretty. And then we're going to need a marking tool so that I can get in there and cut these slits. So there we go. Get this nice and marked. All right, and then from here we should be able to make some cuts for the slits. Using a seam ripper is what we're going to need now. So sticking your hand in that hole that we left open, we can use that to just gently slide our seam ripper in so we can make tiny slits. And that's all we want to cut, is just that right there. Now we're going to use the male magnet end when we do this. So you're going to want to slide that into the back of the magnet, and we're going to slide that into the slits that we have cut carefully. And then you're going to want to pinch to hold that together. So that you can take the plate that's going to have to slide into the same hole that your other hand is and slide it onto the back legs of the male magnet piece. Once you get it on those legs, you're going to need to, can be done of one of two ways. You could push it to where the legs are hugging each other, or you could push it to where the legs are folded away from each other. The idea is so that it holds this plate in place. So now that we've done that, we've got that all secure, we can now screw on the front magnet and with our screws. So we've got the screws. We can now, you can just screw this in as is, or you can use a dab of E6000 for each of your screws and screw them in and then let it cure so that they stay nice and secure. I'm just going to go for it and just screw these in. So now we're going to flip this over to the other side. At this point, we want to take a ruler. We know that this measures approximately 9 inches wide. So we're going to measure 2 1/4 inches up and find that 4 1/2 inch center mark, and we're going to make a mark right there. That mark is where we are going to be putting the female end of our magnet. So we're going to need to find our plate. Just double check myself here. 2 1/4, 4 1/2. Yep, that's right. Okay, we're good. So I'm going to take this plate that counts for the female magnet. I'm going to line it up on that dot we made. And then with that, I'm going to, on these 2 slots, I'm going to make a mark with that. Okay. Now I'm going to stick my hand back in that hole on the inside. And I'm going to use the seam ripper to slice this open. Just gently. You don't want to get too crazy. You've worked so hard to get to this point, so just take it easy. All right, now slide your female magnet in to those two holes. And then you're going to want to slide the plate up into the bag just like you did the other one. And just like the other one, either push the two bars of that magnet to where they're hugging each other or to where they're away from each other. Again, the idea is so that it is secure and can't, break off or anything like that. Cool. So that's all secured. Now, remember those inch panels that we folded over earlier? You want those to lay over each other like a nice fold, like a nice burrito. They kind of overhang each other like a little bit of an envelope. So we want those to lay nice and flat, laying over each other in the center, because we're going to sew those down, and those are going to help close up the hole in the back. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to flatten out those two folds so that they go nice and flat and they're overlapping each other. And that's what we want. We want them to overlap, because what we're going to do is we're going to take this to the machine and we are going to top stitch this down about an eighth of an inch, quarter of an inch from that center seam, just to hold it and close up that hole. I'm going to sew this at a quarter of an inch from that center seam, just so we catch those folds and close up that hole. So that's what I am going to do. Double checking this, making sure it's nice and flat. All right. Just a reminder, I'm going to sew down, go across, come back, and this is all going to be done at a quarter of an inch. You could have backstitched. I forgot to mention that I was leaving my threads long. So definitely, if you were interested, you could leave your threads long and tie it off, or you could backstitch at the beginning or the end. So here is a quick rundown. You can see that we are able to snap this closed, and it's starting to look like a really cute wallet at this point. As you can see, I'm trying to get the interfacing to lay nice for me. So all we have to do now is attach our change purse. I do want to reiterate that you make sure that you have ironed the sides really, really well, because those are going to get really thick on the curves otherwise. So just make sure you take the time and iron those out nice and flat. So here I went ahead and I pulled the inside out just so I can make sure that it was good and flat on the exterior. And I'm going to line the bottom corner up with the curve there, and I'm going to clip this in place. And then I'm going to pull this over, and I'm going to do the exact same thing where I match that bottom corner up, and I'm going to line them all up so they're nice and pretty. Now I am going to backstitch the beginning and the end, sewing this down. You can do an eighth of an inch, you can do a quarter of an inch. I am going to take this down at about an eighth of an inch just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. But just so you know, it's going to get tight when we try to do this other side. So be prepared to have a little bit of patience. So I'm going to go ahead and do this side first. Trim up my strings here. I think that's the one thing that we're constantly doing as sewists is cleaning up strings. Now, this other side, like I mentioned, it is going to get tight. So I'm going to pull this over, and just like I did on that other side, I'm going to line up the bottom corner with the bottom corner of my pouch, and I'm going to clip that to hold. That doesn't seem so bad, right? Well, guess what? Now they've got to do the other side too. So this is probably the most trickiest part of the whole bag. So once you get these all clipped in place, as you can see, I'm still struggling to get this clipped in place. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to take this to the machine, and I'm going to backstitch at the beginning and the end so that it is secured. I don't know if you can see me. I know it's a little tight, but that's all I'm doing is I'm just backstitching really good at the beginning and the end so it doesn't go anywhere. All right, so after that, we're going to tuck in our lining to our purse, and fix this up, straighten it out, give it a little bit of love, because that's all it needs is just a little bit of love. It's looking good. Now, final test. Line that magnet up, and there she is. The Ron. She looks great. This has been a great time. I'm glad you guys came to sew. This has been awesome. It looks wonderful.
Hey everybody, thank you for sewing along on the Ron with me today. We made the 12 card slots, the interior zipper, the accordion sides. We attached a magnet. That one was a doozy, wasn't it? And you know, it was a fun wallet. Now, I can't wait to see all of your makes, so make sure you tag me in the group. Tag Kim, tag Alex. We got lots of cute designs coming out, and I can't wait to sew along again with you. Bye-bye.